Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is VIN 2324, and before we move forward, it is a salvage title car, so if you're not interested in a salvage title car, keep looking. 2324, it is a 2017 liquid platinum 1J7, which is, you don't see a lot of those pop up, with LA20 interior, which is the black interior. Popped up at Copart in Rochester, New York with 65,000 miles on it. And the previous owner of this car has sent me a ton of information on this, so this may be helpful to whoever's looking at buying this. As of right now, there's about 2 days left on it to bid on it. And so we'll get into the details on you wouldn't think much to it, but there's a lot more to the story. Production statistics, 152 out of the 2,348 cars were liquid platinum. Of those 152, only 90 had LA20 or black interior. Specific for 2017 though, there's only 14 out of the 342 cars. And of those 14, only 8 had LA20 interior. So this car is one of 8 at its rarest. It is 3.8% of all GSFs produced for the US 49 were this color combination. So as far as rarity goes, out of 10, it's an 8 out of 10. It's definitely on the rarer end of combinations and availability. So Carfax, Epic VIN, and AutoCheck. So my system that I use for pulling Carfaxes and AutoChecks are down right now. So I only have the Carfax that I ran back at the end of last year in 2024. But now it's a 3-owner, 3-accident car. It looks like there was one in the front in January of 2019, one in the rear in July of 2019, and then now here in late 2025, this other one. As I said, my Carfax is older, so it shows it as 2-owner, but it is definitely a 3, maybe even a 4-owner car. Epic VIN shows this as a 4-owner, 2-accident car, and AutoCheck I didn't pull, so it looks like it's a 3 or 4-owner car. So at this point with a salvage title car, the number of owners becomes less important. However, you still want to know the history on it. Previous sales, it first went on sale in September of 2017 for $88,000 in Georgia, and it looks like it sold a couple months later in December of 2017 to its first owner. It was then available in May of 2021 at CarMax for $53,000 with 48,000 miles still in Georgia. So this car, at least from 17 to 21, still remained in Georgia. And then it looks like it moved to North Carolina to a dealer there in early 2025 with nearly 60,000 miles. It had delaminating carbon fiber, but it was also stock at the time. And I don't know what it sold for, but then it also popped up on Facebook Marketplace and in the GSF for sale groups here a couple months later, $46,000 with 62,000 miles in Maryland with an intake and exhaust. It had a dash cam and it had Florida plates. So, you know, something doesn't quite add up there, but, and then I believe that is where the current owner acquired this car from before it got totaled. So a side note, before we get into the photos, the previous owner gave me all the service records and all of the investigation from the body shop on this car. So if you're interested in that, just drop me an email, go up to my channel about, and you'll see my email there, and I can send that to you either in a Google Drive or otherwise. So looking at the damage, at first view, you would think, oh, well, you know, it's just the door and maybe the quarter panel, and that's it. Well, the problem is the impact. It looks like he hugged a pole or something coming around a corner. And so it got the door, but it also got that quarter panel there, which is a very expensive fix. It's probably the most expensive spot on the car other than the front grille to repair and replace. But the kicker here is this car has frame damage. And so whatever impacted right there, it actually pulled the suspension, which therefore pulled the rear carriage, the rear subframe, and where it's attached to the frame. It bent all of that. And so that is why this car, the original estimate was $27,000 to repair this car. So just the quarter panel alone, that's like $12,000 worth of repair. That's glass out, interior out, all of the sub work behind. You know, there's a lot of work that's involved with that. I said, any of you guys that know body work know that, you know, this is a pretty expensive fix. Now, you can buy it and go drive it. You know, put the glass back in. It's obviously was taken apart by the body shop and they said, yeah, we're done, total it. But it looks like that you could put all this back in and basically drive it as long as the frame is not terribly bad where you could like correct it with an alignment. I highly doubt that's the case, especially, you know, if they've gone this far into it. But the previous owner has also provided photos from the body shop where they actually put a scope up underneath in the frame, and you can see where the subframe attaches and it's actually bent. And so the frame, the unibody is compromised on this car, but in the right hands, it's probably repairable. And so I don't think this is a parts car yet. But the damage aside, it's a pretty clean car. It's the photos that were provided when it had 60,000 miles didn't look rusty underneath or anything like that. I don't see any really major issues. It had the delaminating carbon fiber when it had 60,000 miles. I don't know if that's corrected, but kind of go into it, assume you probably have to address the carbon fiber on this, but the rest of it looks pretty clean. Service history. So this car was pretty well serviced until about 2021. There's a gap from about 2021 to 2025, or about the last 12,000 miles. So this car didn't get a lot of miles in the last few years, but that's something that maybe a couple oil changes were done at home and it's good. On to the service history. So the first injury of note is the JLB recall. That is in May of 2018. Most of these cars have that done. That's the high pressure fuel pumps. Good to see that's done and out of the way. 16,000 miles, January of 2019. It was involved in an accident and they corrected the pre-collision lane keep, things like that. And I'm assuming that's the one that shows up on the Carfax in the front in January of 2019, because here it is, January 2019. So obviously a front end accident that this car had. December of 2019, 32,000 miles. So if somebody put 16,000 miles on it in a year, the left rear shock was leaking. 17 through the 20 model years had the adaptive damping shocks. They were known to leak. Some of them failed when they had 15 miles on it. Some of them had 10,000, some of them 70, 80,000 before they started leaking. There's one of them that has been replaced on this car. So if you're looking at this car, obviously look at the other three and see if they're leaking. Obviously the damage aside, this is what else you're looking for. August of 2021, the left and right dash carbon fiber pieces were replaced. So when it was for sale earlier this year, it was delaminating again. So that tells me, and I've seen this in a couple instances, that when the original parts were replaced, they were not replaced with a better part, it just delaminated again. So now it's probably on its third piece if it has been replaced. If not, it's still delaminating. May of 2025, a pre-purchase inspection at 62,000 miles. And I would assume that is the current owner or previous owner, however you want to look at it, that is getting a pre-purchase inspection when it was for sale on Facebook Marketplace. And the last service, July of 2025, 64,000 miles, oil and filter, and they noted a pending code on the transmission shift solenoid. So that is maybe something to look into. So what is not done? Valley plate, obviously, is the big one. Inspect the valley plate, the front lower control arm bushings, check for inner tire wear on the front, the other carbon fiber pieces, and just the HVAC servo sweep, kind of the usual things that you need to look at. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. I don't see where the 60,000 mile service is done. So that's the spark plugs, inspect the belts, hoses, maybe replace the belt. The transmission service, the differential service, don't see where any of that's done. So that would probably be something you need to put on your list to do for this car if you're going to put it back on the road. Price-wise, right now, here it is 2 days before, and this car's almost at $20,000 bid with the reserve not met. And I think that in order to make this feasible, so this car, clean retail, if it was ready to go, had no issues, it was all serviced, this car should probably be like mid to lower 50s. And so, if I were a dealer going to sell it, I'd probably put it for like $52,995. That's probably where I would put it. The insurance, you can see, they show on Copart and IAAI, they show what the ACV, which is the amount that they paid out $51,000 on this car. So clean car, pretty close to where I would put it as well. This car did have some mods on it, and it looks like the mid pipe is still on it, maybe some others. That would be something to look at a little bit closer, but at one point it had some mods. The price, so when you adjust for salvage title, it's typically on these cars 30 to 40%. So that puts it in like the low 30s. And so if you're gonna buy this car, it's already at $20,000. With a repair like that, it's not leaving a whole lot of room if you're gonna try to fix it to resell it. Now, if you're gonna fix it yourself and just drive it, value be damned, you can probably stay money ahead with this car that way. But because it is a low mile example for all things considered for a 2017, but it is definitely at $20,000 for the bid price. You're getting close to not having a lot of room for profit. So that is something to consider. If I were looking to buy a car to rebuild with a lower cost of entry, this definitely has good bones for it, but you really need to be careful with the bent frame part of it. That would be the big kicker, which that of course is why this car was totaled. So inspect very carefully, and hopefully it can be a good car for you. But that's what I've got for you guys, VIN 2324. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you soon.